Mi gente, I want to bring awareness to something. Outside validation. Living a life of always seeking validation from people, places, and things. What does this have to do with self-love, self-first? You ask? This has everything to do with self-love, self-first. Why? Because validation is when your confidence isn't high enough. When you're working out of the mentality of ego. When you are seeking approval. You ever seen a child, a baby, when they're doing something, they look towards their parent for that validation? Okay. We can expect that from them, right? However, as an adult, as a parent to this child, you are to raise your kids in a way that seeking validation is not a thing that they do with everyone. Maybe your parents who are really parenting you. I'm not talking about narcissist parents. I'm talking about parents who really love and care for you. Understand? However, you can get that from a child. It's acceptable. But it's not acceptable as an adult, as a teenager. Once you get to a certain age, seeking validation is not something that you need to do. You don't need that in your life. Seeking validation from others can get you into big trouble. That's the reason why I'm making this video. Seeking validation from others may get you into serious problems because you are trusting someone outside of you to tell you if this thing, this place, this person that you want, if you do it, if you don't, if you embrace it, if you won't, comes from the validation of another person giving you permission to. For example, seeking validation on doing drugs, seeking validation on dating someone, seeking validation on going places, being around certain people. Let me tell you something. Let's just digress a bit. When you seeking validation, especially when you're seeking validation for seeing someone, an external person, you want to go on a date, let me tell you something. Everyone is not for you, right? And if you understand how the body works, your intuition, your body talks to you and it tells you you need to listen. So if you're in a position where you need to seek validation from an external person who does not coincide with anything about your body, they're not a part of your muscles, your DNA, your veins, your brain, your stomach. They're not a part of your chakras. They're not a part of your spirit. They're not a part of you. They're an external person. So if you are seeking validation from an external person on whether you should or shouldn't date someone, whether you should and shouldn't do drugs, whether you should and you shouldn't be at a certain place at a certain time, whether you should or shouldn't disrespect your parents, you understand? Or just overall, like you should be in attitude mode. A lot of that validation that people seek from others is the validation of performing poorly. If you really ask, if you really look into that situations. Like, because if you think about it, seeking validation is asking someone else for permission on how you should be. And the way you are, that's how you should be. Self-correct yourself is what you need to get into. because self-correcting is where you truly get to understand the fruit of who you are. And no one can tell you. Eventually you start to learn that down the line after you done, you get to a certain age. Some people get to a certain age where they learn it eventually that they should have just listened to themselves. They learn it eventually that they should have never, listened to their friends. They learn it eventually that they should have never been there at the wrong place at the wrong time. You understand? They'll start to learn how certain advice from others they should have never listened to. However, no one teaches us how to listen to ourselves. No one teaches us that we can teach ourselves, that we're self-motivating, self-mastering. We are able to self-love self first. And I'm not telling you to not have social life. On the contrary, yes, having a social life and having fun and smiling and being happy, that is something that you should do. However, when you're seeking validation from an external person that is going to possibly be jealous of you, possibly have some form of insecurities themselves, or are not raised with this type of knowledge that I'm giving you. So this, like, the dumb leading the dumb, the blind leading the blind. Like, it's, for me, it is very powerful when you can self-master yourself. And the earlier you learn that, a more ahead of the time you are. Because you don't want to wait till you get to a certain extent or a certain age or a certain scenario where you like, oh, it's just too late. Then you start to become bitter off the situation because, you knew you shouldn't have, but you did anyway. Your intuition told you to do something different, but you listened to that external person. It's those things, right? So you have power, and you need to learn how to ignite that power. You have what is called self-love, self first. And as soon as you ignite it, trust and believe your body will talk to you. It'll let you know what's right and wrong. Listen to that. That is your guide. Because remember, not everyone is out there for you to be dating. Not every place is there for you to go. You need to keep life very simple, but still have fun. Have fun. Enjoy. Earth is wonderful. This is a phenomenal place to be on. And you need to look at it that way so that you can learn how to embrace how phenomenal you are as an individual, so that you can understand how powerful you are, that seeking knowledge in a school that's going to teach you something from a book versus something that you can learn from yourself, that's phenomenal. That's power. All right? So listen, I'm not a perfect person. I've definitely did my do's and don'ts. You understand? And I share this information because it needs to be shared. It needs to be spoken about. And I didn't have it when I was growing up. I learned it eventually. And the sooner that you get it, the better it is for you. Understood? And you ask, like, why does she share this information? Because I love myself immensely that my cup overfloweth. I can share this information with you. It doesn't take anything away from me. If anything, it adds more flavor to who I am, right? So, self-love, baby. Self first at all times. Ciao.